if you were of a, like, kind of like a Titan, then you are a Titanic, right? You know? If you are sort of a metal, then you are metallic. If you are kind of Satan, you are satanic, ladies and gentlemen. And Christian rock in the 80s, I'm so glad all of you guys are here listening to Christian rock music in a church. It's 2021. Oh, how things have changed. Because in the 80s, ladies and gentlemen, Christian rock was satanic. And my mom was ticked at this youth pastor for giving me this wolves in sheep's clothing music. Leading her son astray, she was mad. Not having it, son. Not having it. Long story short, we went to a Petra concert, if you've ever heard of them. And my mom went with me, and this guy started talking about Jesus up there and gave an altar call, and like 400 people walked forward to give their life to Jesus. And she leaned over to me and she goes, "Okay, I get it." Now, I understand in her defense, you know, that it was weird, right? And so when people come up to me and they're like, "I'm not sure about your music, you know, because of whatever reason," I appreciate that. People are like, "Well, you guys just get persecuted. You know, some people think that you're just not, you know, Christians and whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, that doesn't bother me at all. You're talking about my mom." So like, you know, like, she loved me. Do you understand? Like, she was being protective of me. She did not know, so she did not want some bad influence coming to her kid. So somebody coming up to me and saying, "I'm not really sure about you guys," you're just looking at a parent who actually cares about their kid. I ain't got a problem with that. But here's the thing, you just gotta think about it just for a little bit. The only sin these guys committed, listen, I mean, it was a really heinous sin. It earned them the adjective satanic. I mean, it's really bad. The one sin that they committed that was so heinous and so evil and so awful was that they took their guitars and they plugged them into electricity. Is that not the most Amish thing you've ever heard in your entire life? Like, no, we ain't having this. They're singing. They can sing about Jesus all they want to. I hear that electricity in the guitar. Yeah, it is wolves in sheep's clothing. So I go to a White Cross concert as a little kid, and I meet the lead singer, and you know, just as you do at the end of a show or whatever, and he signs this 8x10 for me, and he writes on there, he says, "To Kevin, trust in the Lord." And he signed his name, and he wrote down Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Now, I need you to know I didn't really care about a Bible verse. I was there to see this man perform. But he cared enough to say, if you want me to write my name down, then this is what I have to say to you. Trust in the Lord. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And that moment, I didn't even know what it said fully, but it became my favorite Bible verse because someone I respected wrote it down on a piece of paper. And then I read the Bible verse, and now studied it, did a message on our Patreon. If you're not, how many Patreon Rebel Society folks we have in here? Thank you very much. If you're not part of our Rebel Society, it has nothing to do with rebels of the past or anything. It's talking about Jesus being the ultimate rebel. While the world goes that way, Jesus says, "I'm going this way. Who's following me? Who's going to be the ultimate rebel against the world?" That's the Rebel Society that we have. I do a message every month called Nothing Left Unsaid, and my current message is very similar to what I want to talk about tonight. And the verse says this, 3 different versions. I'll kind of throw them all together here, just mashed potatoes of the Bible here, if you will. You have trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Another version says, don't depend on your own understanding. Then in verse 6 it says, but acknowledge him in all of your ways. Another version says, submit to him in all of your ways. So acknowledging him in all of your ways, it's kind of confusing. It's like, okay, how do I acknowledge him in all my ways? But then you get to this other version, it's very clear. Submit to him in all your ways. Okay, I got that. Submit is a very strong word, very powerful verb. Submit to him in all your ways. And then there's a promise. If you do that, he makes a promise to you. So what do you do first? Trust in the Lord. How? with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. Well, why would I not lean on my own understanding? Well, I don't even know how to look at a record with grooves in it and figure out how they put music in there. That's first of all. I can't look at a cassette tape and figure out how there's music on there. I just found out that there is weather on Mars. And that a huge dust storm is what killed the Mars rover. There's weather. People are like, I wonder if there's life on Mars. Yes, Mars. It's alive. It has weather. It has storms. So, for me to depend on my own understanding when I'm dealing with a God who made that, and there's probably weather on Neptune as well, and he did that. So I'm going to trust him. And some people are like, I need to understand everything there is about God or else I won't follow him. Have you ever done that when you got on an airplane? Have you ever done that before you went into a surgery for a doctor to remove cancer? Sir, I just need to know everything about what's going on here before you open up my body with that knife of yours. I need to understand where you're going, what you're doing. I want to know all the right words. I not only need to know it, I need to understand it completely. Matter of fact, if you show me how to do it, I'll take it home and probably do it myself. I'm kind of a do-it-myself kind of guy. I feel like this cancer thing's probably not that big of a deal. You don't look that smart. If you can do it, I can do it. Nobody else does that with anything else. Like, oh, what a weird thing for God to say, don't depend on your own understanding. Actually, it's not. It's pretty spot on. Because when I try to understand this God of the universe who doesn't just care about me, he cares about all of us. And we're all connected together. And my actions and your actions are all connected. And these things we do, it's all connected and part of his story. This great commission and mission that he gave us when he left is to go and make disciples of all nations. And he's using us. You don't think he's using you to do that, but he is. Even when you don't know he's using you to do that, he is. That's his mission. He is not a God of America. He is this is a global mission. He is a God of the world. And we are all part of that family. We all have different skin colors and different amounts of money and different languages that we speak in different cultures, but we are all part of one family. I'm going to be an American for 80, 90 years, hopefully, but I'm going to be a child of God for eternity. So I actually have to get my mind off of this. Forgive me, Pastor, for my language. I have to get my mind off of this bull crap political stuff that everybody's spewing out of their stupid mouth and get my mind off of that and get it on things that actually matter. The global mission of Jesus Christ in the world. Stop trying to change the world to get people to not wear a mask or wear a mask. Get people to change the world so they can love Jesus and know that he died on a cross for their sins, that he's resurrected, and so that when they die, they can be resurrected too. I guarantee you it'll have way much more of an impact on their life. I don't get political at all. I said, I'm so not political. And then Dane, our buddy, was on the road with us. He goes, you're so political. And I'm like, I just tell everybody that I'm not. And he goes, that's being political. I'm like, I don't understand the word. What does it even mean? Okay, just forget it. Whatever. So, you acknowledge him in all your ways. The promise is this: trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your understanding. Don't depend on your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all your ways. Submit to him in all your ways. What's the promise? He will direct your path. He will guide your path. He will make your path straight, one version says. I love that. Have you ever been at a crossroads wondering which way to go, right? Should I go right? Should I go left? Should I go this way? Should I go whatever? When you trust in him, don't lean on your own understanding. Submit to him in all your ways. It's like, I put my foot out, and he makes my path straight. So I'm not sure which way to go. Well, I know if I'm trusting him, he's made me a promise. If I'm just saying, my life is yours. If I say, here I am, take me, use me, my life is yours, then he does. And if I'm submitting to him, I don't have to wonder which way I'm going, if it's the right way or not. He will keep his promise. He will make my path straight. You feel me? It's a promise to you. Now see, you got to understand, I've made Christianity all about me. I've done it for many, many years. And we've heard a lot of messages about Christianity being all about us and what we can get out of it, whatever. But I learned something one day through this prayer. In 2020, I was praying for our side project called Honor and Glory. Have anybody heard our new Honor and Glory song that came out already? So for those of you who don't know, we're in two bands. We're in Disciple and another band called Honor and Glory. It's a worship band. Then we don't sound like a church. But anyway, we're rock worship. And maybe we do sound like a church. But I was praying in 2020, and I was like getting ready to go down and write some songs for Honor and Glory and work on it. And I said, God, I pray this year that this whole project, that this year is awesome. He didn't answer that prayer, 2020, but so I pray this year is awesome, and just pray that it was back when we were all like standing next to each other and shaking hands and kissing babies and drinking Cokes after each other, just being normal. And and it was that prayer happened way before all this other stuff. And so I was like, God, just make this year awesome. I pray that I go down here to Nashville today. I'm driving to Nashville to write a song. I'm like, pray that the song that we write today is awesome. I pray that this album that we're getting ready to record is awesome. I pray that whatever mixer or producer we find is awesome. I just pray that when people hear it, that they just think that it's the best thing that they've ever heard. I just pray that it's awesome. Now, I don't know if anybody here has ever had a two-way conversation with God. Most of my prayers are one-way conversations. It's just me talking. And quite honestly, I treat God as if I'm God and as if He is my servant. That's actually how I talk to Him. I don't know if anybody else has this experience, but I talk to Him as if I'm God. And I say, Dear Lord, please go and make this thing awesome. And please do this for me. And please, if you will give me a lot of money, and if I could also find this thing and this thing and that thing, and if you wouldn't mind doing this thing for me as well, and I would really appreciate it, servant Jehovah, if you would just serve me and make me awesome. And so most of my prayers are one-way conversations like that. Well, God apparently had enough of that this particular day, and I didn't hear an audible voice like Moses and burning bush or anything like that. But I felt it, and I felt it hard, and it was very strange, and it was like kind of exorcisty, if that's even an adjective. So I was like, ugh, I was freaked out by it a little bit, and I said, make this awesome, and then I was driving in my car, just the whole air in the car just got dank and dark, and I felt gross, and I just felt Him go, no. He'd had enough. He said, no. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out what I said that was so bad. I was just praying like I normally pray. I mean, come on, don't we pray like that? Lord, make me awesome. Lord, help me with my job. Help me pay my bills. Give me this thing. Give me that thing. This is just normal stuff, right? Give us, Lord, our daily bread and a whole bunch of other stuff besides the daily bread. Give me a bunch of bread so I can just have it in savings account, if that's okay. I would like a lot of bread, please, Jesus. And that's how we prayed. He said, no. I couldn't figure it out, and so I started mumbling and just rambling with God. I was like, if you don't want me to do this, then I don't want to do it. I don't want to put all this work into this music. If you don't want me to do it, then I don't want to do it. Silence, nothing. And literally I just started just talking because I didn't really know what to say, and this is what I said. I was like, well, okay, God, I'll tell you what. If we do this album, then here's what we're going to do. It just needs to be all about you then. Everything needs to be about you. The songs need to be about you. The moments need to be about you. We're not even going to perform. We're not going to entertain. It's just going to be about you. People come in to the room while we're doing this honor and glory stuff, that literally it'll be about you from the time they get in there to the time that they leave. That all of it will be completely about you, not about us. That people will forget as they're listening to the music that they're even listening to music, that they will have an encounter with you. The people that come to the concerts will forget that they're at a concert. They'll forget that the band is there, and they will have an encounter with you. That it will be completely, totally, and solely about you. And I finished the prayer, and he goes, yes. And I learned something very significant. I've been a Christian for a long time. I have been praying incorrectly
And selfishly, almost my whole life, never did it cross my mind to ask the question, God, is there something that you'd like me to do for you? I've been telling you things I'd like you to do for me for quite a while. Is there something that I could do for you? Well, matter of fact, Kevin, there is. I want you to trust me. I want you to submit to me. And I'm going to lead you down the path. So that day, he showed me that submitting to him in my prayer life was extremely important. Reminded me of the Son of God. When God told me no, the Father also told his Son no. You may not be familiar with this part of the story because we kind of just gloss over it, but I find it very powerful. Jesus is getting ready to give his life for all of us. And make no mistake, Jesus loves you. And Jesus was thinking about you. But Jesus also, being 100% God, was also 100% man. With feelings and fears. He faced temptations just like we did. And in this moment, he became very vulnerable. And we got to witness it and read it in the Bible. And he asked his Father, as he's scared about what he was about to go through, afraid about what he was about to go through, he said, Father, I'd really like it if I didn't have to go through this. I don't want to. So if there's any way that this cup of suffering that I'm about to drink, if there's any way that this cup could pass from me, I'd really appreciate it. But then Jesus prayed the most faith-filled prayer. And people will argue with me and say that it's a faithless thing. No, sir. No, ma'am. It is not. It's the most faith-filled thing that Jesus ever prayed. Because Jesus could have gotten what he wanted. Jesus had the power to get what he wanted. But instead, what he prayed was, but Father, not what I want, not my will, but let your will be done. Man, if you ever thought about that, man, what if every prayer we said, here's some things I like, but God, what I want even more is your will to be done in my life. Not what I want. Wherever you want me to go, I'll go. Whatever you want me to do. Because see, the plan that God had was not just about Jesus. He knew the road that he was about to walk and the suffering he was about to go through was going to be really tough on him. But he also knew that he had to go through it. Why? Because there was a little kid in the 80s who was going to get a Christian rock tape handed to him. And if he didn't get that handed to him, he would not be a child of God. And Jesus had to walk that road that Jesus had to walk in order for me to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. Do you understand what I'm saying? He had to do that in order for God to get to me. See, there was a guy that my accountant, and most of you heard this story, and I called him one day just to talk to him about accounting and stuff. And I said, hey, you don't sound okay. Are you okay? He said, no. And I said, can I pray for you? And I prayed for him, and it was just a simple prayer, right? It wasn't nothing major. And just God be with my friend, help my friend. And in Jesus' name, and he said, thank you, man, I appreciate that so much. You'll never know how much I appreciate that. You know, and I just thought that was just him just being nice, telling me that. 3 years goes by, I'm sitting in his office, he's got tears streaming down his face, and he says, hey, Kevin, do you remember when you prayed for me over the phone that day? You just called me out of the blue on a weekend, which you've never done before, ever, and you've never called me on my cell phone, ever, never, not even once. And I was like, yeah, I remember praying for you. And he said, can I tell you what was going on that day? And I said, sure. He said, I was on my back porch, I had a gun in my hand, I was about to commit suicide and take my own life. He said, I'd made some mistakes. Anybody here ever made mistakes? He said, I made mistakes that I thought I couldn't be forgiven of. Anybody made mistakes that you thought you couldn't be forgiven of? Because other people are never going to forgive you for it, right? So you think God's the same way. He said, I made some mistakes I thought I couldn't be forgiven of. He said, I thought it'd just be better if I just went ahead and take my life and just take the burden of my life away from my family. He said, I was crying, I was weeping. He said, I just prayed, God, if there's any way you could forgive me, then I need a miracle. He said, that moment when I said the word miracle, he said the phone rang and it was you. He said, you asked if you could pray for me. He said, never in my life have I ever needed someone to pray for me more than that moment right there. He said, now my kids still have their father because you took the time to pray with me. I said, and he said, thank you. And I was like, I took the thank you and I threw it. I was like, don't thank me. I was like, I didn't even know that anything happened. I just thought I was praying for my friend. I didn't even know that the prayer that I was praying was going to save your life. I didn't even know. Mike Sexton was his name. He did not even know that when he was handing me that tape, that it was going to change my life. He didn't know. But God had a plan. It's all connected. And he knew that the moment Jesus said, not my will, but your will be done, that God has a plan for this world. And I'm in it. And you're in it. And he uses us even when we don't know he's using us. Even when you think that prayer you prayed wasn't that big of a deal. Even when you think that small act of kindness that you did for somebody wasn't that big of a deal. And God is using it all to fulfill his global mission to make disciples of all nations. So we can't depend on our own understanding. Why? You know why? Because we just don't even know what's going on half the time. I had no idea he had a gun in his hand. I had no idea that his life was about to be taken. But God knew. So I trust in the Lord. And I don't lean on my own understanding. But I submit to him in all of my ways, which is not easy. And he makes my path straight. He directs me to pick up that phone and think about an accounting question on a Saturday, which is very weird. Can I leave you with this tonight? Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust Jesus with all your heart. It's not going to make sense sometimes. You're going to try to understand it, and it's just not going to make sense sometimes. But acknowledge him in all your ways. Submit to him in all your ways. And he's made you a promise. He'll lead you to the right guitar player, bass player, drummer, wife, kids, church, nation. He will take your feet and set you on the path that you were meant to be on. And it's nobody else's path, but it's yours. And only you can walk that path. Only Jesus could walk that path that he could walk. And he set Mike Sexton's path to encounter me, and it changed my life. And he set my path in my accountant's life, and it changed his life. And now tonight, our paths have crossed. And lives will be changed in here tonight. If you're here tonight and you're far from God, if you're a Christian and you're far from God, it's time to come home. It's time to make things right with God. If you're a Christian, I'm going to just let you keep your eyes open, okay? If you're a Christian and you've made mistakes, the Bible says there's mercies, his mercies are new every morning. Unlimited subscription. If they're new every morning, then that means something probably happened last night. And maybe it didn't, maybe it did. But just in case it did, they're new every morning. If you're here tonight and you're like, I'm far from God. I need forgiveness.
I need to put my trust in the Lord. I need to submit all my ways to Him because my ways have not been submitted to Him. And the path that I've been walking is not His path. And I need to get back on His path and let Him lead and guide me to do whatever He wants with my life. And if He uses me and I don't even know that some great miracle happened with it, then that's okay. Just as long as I'm on His path. If that's you tonight, you're like, I need to get back on the right path. If that's you, I want you to lift up your hand right where you're at. Just lift it up right where you're at. Just say, that's me. God bless you, man. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Anybody else say, man, I'm not right with God. I need to get right with God tonight. I know everybody's looking. Everybody's eyes are open. And I know that takes boldness and courage because somebody might see you. Somebody might see you and be like, oh, what did they do? The same thing everybody else did here did is the exact same thing that they did. So if you're here and you say, man, I want to make things right with God. I want to make things right with God. Anybody else? Just lift it up. I see. I got you. 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 All right. Last question. If you don't know Jesus, if you're not a child of God, you're not a son of God or you're not a daughter of God, and you want to become one, following Jesus is not what the world thinks it is. They think, like look at me, like I said earlier, that because I'm a Christian, then I'm perfect, then I never sin and never make mistakes. Not even close. God allowed me to have kids to teach me what it actually means to be a Christian. Being a Christian is being a child of God. My children are my kids. They all came out as blank slates. None of them knew how to speak. None of them knew how to whine yet. None of them knew how to ask for cereal or whatever, but they learned all those things. They're my kids, all right? They are my kids. That means they have a southern accent, which means that they're smart. They just don't sound very smart. They're my kids. They like Star Wars. They were putting all these princess DVDs and stuff. I slipped a Star Wars DVD in there. My oldest daughter said, Daddy, what's this? And I said, it's the greatest day of your life, sweetheart. This is what it is. And they're my kids, all right? They're my kids. Now, do I discipline my kids? Yes. Do I still love them? Yes. Is that hard for them to understand? Absolutely. Do they, they don't understand. And I explained to them, I've got a short window of time to try to train you to be what I think is a good person. I'm trying to train you because you're my child and I love you. And I'm not going to cast you out for messing up. We'll do this together. You know how many times my kids fell down? Over and over. You know how many times they still fall down? My oldest daughter just busted up her chin and she was like, is he going to leave a scar? And I'm like, do I lie to her? Should I wait? Like, she's just upset and crying and I'm like, yeah, but it'll be cool. It's going to be a good scar. It's going to be awesome. You're going to like it. It's not a cool scar. But God taught me that's what it means to be a child of God. And I want to invite you to become a child of God tonight. Because you're not going to have it figured out. The same way my kids didn't have it figured out. They didn't know how to be people when they were first born. Everybody, that makes sense, doesn't it? They didn't know how to walk when they were first born. That makes sense to you, right? They didn't know how to talk when they were first born. Everybody understands that, right? You have grace for that. When you give your life to God, you become His child. It's being called born again. And you become His child. And He teaches you how to walk. And He teaches you how to talk. And He teaches you how to walk like Him. And He teaches you how to talk like Him. And all of a sudden, you start to have His accent. God accent. Not a Southern accent. Not an Ohio accent. You start to have a God accent. So when people hear you talk, they're like, oh, you sound like your father. Right? You know how you had that? Through relationship. You have a relationship with Him from this child to father. Have you ever met somebody that you know they just have Jesus all over them, God all over them, and they're just such a good person? What's the one characteristic about them? They've been walking with their Father. And their life has not been easy. I guarantee you they have walked through some fire, but they walked through every single one of those fires with their Father holding their hand. Conquering every enemy, climbing every mountain, defeating every foe in their path. That's what it means to be a child of God. Now, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes in here tonight. If you're here, everybody stand up to your feet. Everybody all across this place, stand up to your feet. If you're here tonight and you want to become a child of God, I want you to know
all the work has been done. Jesus already did everything. He said, not my will, Father, not my will, but your will be done, Father. And God's will for your life is for you to be his child. That's what he wants. That's what God wants, is for you to be his child. Now listen, I don't want to talk anybody into doing anything that you don't want to do. So if you don't want to do this, then just tune me out right now and don't listen to me anymore. But I guarantee you there's people in this room right now. The Holy Spirit is pulling on your heart right now, magnetically just drawing you to him, and you can feel it. Now, Again, I don't want to talk you into doing anything you don't want to do. So if that's not you, then don't worry about it. But if it is you, and I believe that there are people in this room that the Holy Spirit is doing that to right now, and you're being drawn and you're being pulled to God, and you can feel it, and you're like, this is my night. I'm going to become a child of God tonight. I'm going to pray and receive Jesus in my life and become a child of God. If that's you, I want you to know everybody's eyes are closed. Nobody's looking at you. This is a very special and sacred time. And I believe with all my heart that our paths have crossed here tonight. He says if we acknowledge him in all of our ways, he'll make our paths straight. I believe our paths have crossed tonight because tonight is your night to become a child of God. So if you're here tonight and you want to say yes to God and become his child forever, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your hand. I want you to be really brave. I want you to be really bold. I don't want you to worry about what anybody thinks because nobody's looking at you. So don't worry about anything like that. If you're here tonight and you want to become a child of God, I want you to take your hand right now. And I want you to lift it high up in the air, just right where you're at. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you, bud. God bless you. Yep. Awesome. Anybody else? Yep. All right. Yep. I got you. Anybody else? Said tonight's my night. All right, put them down. I'm not really good at math. Somewhere between 10 and 15 people. Our paths crossed here tonight on purpose. God's after you. And you're about to become his child. Everybody pray with me. We're going to pray together. We're going to pray a faith-filled prayer. Faith-filled, we're going to say, here's my life. Not what I want, what you want, God. All right? We're going to pray. We're going to ask Jesus to forgive us of our sins. And we're going to say that we believe that God raised Jesus from the dead. We're going to ask him to make us his children.